Hello, everybody, and welcome to Brunch with Bigfoot and Michigan Rob. Of course, I am your host, BMR, live in Studio B. With me from Missouri is Brandy. Hello, Brandy. I'll bring you up in a minute. We got a great guest tonight, good buddy of mine, Bryan Bowden. We're talking about everything. When I get together with Bryan, anything goes. It's gonna be a fantastic show. If this is your first time here, please subscribe to Bigfoot Michigan Rob on YouTube. Please subscribe to the Blondes and the Booze Paranormal Podcast on YouTube. And, of course, Tex from Texas Front Porch on YouTube. You can find us on iHeartRadio, Spreaker Radio, KPNL Radio, wherever podcasts are found. If you like what we have and you want to help support, the Super Chat is open. That's a great way to help us out. I do appreciate that in advance. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever social media platform you're on. And, of course, check out YouTube for our About pages. On our About pages, we have events that we post, our schedules, what we do, because we have a big family over here with BMR, Tex, Brandy, Krista, and the girls. In fact, on Monday nights, it is Texas Front Porch, 7 Central, 8 o'clock in the East. Go check out Tex and Brandy. Tuesdays is Beyond BMR, 9 o'clock in the East, 8 Central, with myself and Krista. Wednesdays is on Texas Front Porch. True is the Diva Dimension, 9 Central, 10 in the East. Thursday, right back here with Brunch with Bigfoot Michigan Rob. I come on 12 Central, 1 in the East, typically with Tex. Tex is out doing whatever he's doing. Getting in his last Christmas shopping, I think is what he's doing. I don't know. Thursday nights, the Blondes, the Booze, the Paranormal Podcast found on YouTube. You can find them 8 Central, 9 in the East. And if you need more woo with the booze, they come back right at you on Friday, 8 Central, 9 in the East. Join Krista and Brandy for that one. Tex is doing something as well with Danielle Diva. Tex is into true crime. Infamous Minds airs Saturdays, 3 o'clock in the East. With that being said, a couple other short announcements. I got to do this. I'm going to do this announcement right off the get here. Good old BMR does not usually ask for donations for certain people or things like that. Last year, I did it for a friend, and it was during Christmas. And Christmas is up again. Penny Van, good friend of the family, of the channel, friend of mine. A lot of you may know her. I dropped her email in the chat room. If you guys want to reach out, she's having a tough time. Her email is also her PayPal. Reach out to her, give her some love, give her some support, ask how she's doing, whatever you can do. Give up as you come across something. I'm not going to tell Penny's story, but I thought it pulled at my heart a little bit. So Penny Van could use support. Her email is posted, and reach out to her, see if you can help her out in any way, shape, or fashion. So that is appreciated in the spirit of, I don't say the holidays. I'm not politically correct. It's Christmas time. It's Christmas time. Before we get started here, a couple other things I do want to bring up quickly is, let's see, as I scroll through here, I want to thank everybody that's bought the book, Bigfoot Michigan Represents True Cryptid Encounters, book 1. You can find that on Amazon. Now, everybody, before the shipping goes up, now I know if you're Amazon Prime, shipping's free. But for those of us that don't buy $25 worth of things, take advantage of the low shipping rates before Christmas. Get it in time for Christmas. Those of you that have bought it, once again, thank you for that. Chevy Chase in the movie Fletch said it's all ball bearings. Well, today it's all analytics. So if you're asked via your email to leave a review, please do, because it does help and promote sales. And another thing, it's a little early. We're all thinking about Christmas, but I do make a quick mention of this. June 7th and 8th, 2024, we have the Alabama Bigfoot Conference that we're all putting on. Okay. Tex is going to be the host. Our speaker line is Bart Nunnally, Daryl Denton, the Blondes and the Booze, Jason McLean, Greg Ogles, Martin Groves, and of course, yours truly, Bigfoot Michigan Rob. Tickets $30 online, $35 at the door. So just an early reminder for that. I know it's early, and the last thing you're thinking about are conferences, but I did want to put that out there. So I'm not going to waste any more time with advertising here in the beginning. I'm going to bring up the lovely Brandy. Hello, darling.
Hello.
How are you? Well, you're
I'm
looking
good.
very nice, very nice. I like the blue. I like the
Thank
blue
you.
shirt. I like the gnome in the back. I'm waiting for it to move throughout the show. Creepy things happen on our shows all the time.
Yeah, I know. I watch it every now and again, wondering if it's going to move or not.
Yeah, I like it. Does he light up or no?
He does light up. Unfortunately, he messes with the camera, so
Yeah,
I have
well,
to just leave it off.
yeah, certainly do. Well, I do thank you, Brandy, for joining me. Tex is out doing his thing, and we got a great guest, Bryan Bowden. He's been on a handful of times, and when I have
Mm.
Bryan on, it goes all over the place. I titled this Bryan Bowden. I always say Bowden because I know people that like it pronounced differently. So it's kind of an inside joke with me and Bryan Bowden. The man with 6,800 podcasts, as Dave Scott would say, worldwide
Right.
cryptids. Yeah, he got that tag some time back. We're going to talk some cryptids, some aliens, different dimensions. In fact, Bryan saw some UFOs take flight not too long ago. We'll probably get into that. It's going to be a smorgasbord of high strangeness here with Brunch with BMR Brandy, and I'm bringing up Sir Bryan M. Bowden.
Hello.
Fatality.
Hey.
I had to throw that in there right there. How do I get invited to these damn conferences? I've only been investigating Bigfoot and cryptids and crap for 40 plus years. And they have all these conferences, and I lived in the dirty South now. I mean, Alabama's what, a fart away from me. I mean, what the heck? Jesus Christ.
Have you ever spoken at a conference, Bryan?
Yeah, I've spoken several conferences.
Well, you got the open
Used to
invite
do
now. I don't know. I don't know what the speaker lineup is. I don't know if we can adjust that, but you're certainly invited.
Oh, I appreciate that. You know what? I may just take the trip up there to do. I've never been to Alabama, so it may be worth the trip. Then if I go a little bit further, I can get to Texas, and then get some boots now, new boots. I tried my old boots on; they're a little bit tight. So, but yeah, I've spoken a bunch of conferences. I used to be on the board with Pine Bush, which is the East Coast, East Coast Roswell. This is where Whitley Strieber had his communion experience. So we used to do we started the Paranormal Museum, and the Paranormal Cryptid Museum, which is now a little bit more of a UFO museum. We used to do three 1 hour presentations, then three half an hour presentations. And the last time I was there doing it, I did the first ever, I like to call it active intelligent encounter. Some people call them CE5s. There was over 130 people there, men, women, and children, including the chief of police. And we brought in a UFO that was no more than probably about 100 feet above our heads, ginormous. And everyone was oohing and eyeing. And even I was just like, okay, you investigate it, and this is the honest truth. And anybody that tells you well, I expected it, they're full of what. When you investigate, and if you're a good investigator, you'll get some evidence every once in a while. That's what really happens when you go out and you keep, oh, I saw this and I saw that. You start shaking your head. There's no way.
Every time I go out, I find something.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard that from people, oh, I always have activity when it's with me. I'm like, okay, well, what are you, taking mushrooms or acid? It's the only way you can have activity 24/7. Because if you go out 10 times, if you're lucky, one time you'll get something.
Right.
And then you have to, this is the worst part. Depending on how many cameras you have, that means, and how many hours you're there, just multiply each of those, that one camera. If you were there for 10 hours and there's 2 hours of film, so that's 20 hours of film footage you have to watch, plus the video, the audio recorders, which, Lord have mercy, thank God they come up with the active ones where you're not listening for 20 hours. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to go nuts. It only picks up in certain spots. And we have one camera that rolls 24/7, but it breaks it up in 15-minute increments, which is doable. Okay.
Right.
You can put it on your headphones. You can Okay, 313. This file, boom. Right. In the past we've had those 72-hour cameras. I mean the audio recorders, and it's just one long file. And you're sitting there, and for some reason, most of those those voice recorders, if you paused it, it usually went back to the beginning. You got to zoom through it again. You get to that point. You're like, oh my God, everybody's looking, why are you so frustrated? I'm like, because I'm up to 19 hours of listening to this damn audio.
Right.
Yeah, it's tough. So I mean, I like to be brutally honest. I like to give you as much evidence that I caught.
Yeah.
I will give you. I'm tired of well, look at this. This is the Roswell incident, and who took it? We don't know, but this is the footage. I mean, I'll talk about the Patterson Gimlin film all the time because I think it's the best evidence,
Yes.
bar none, to the proof and existence of Bigfoot. And there's reasons behind that, and it has to do with being electronic versus non-electric in the capture, and it was non-electronic. And I'm sorry, I don't believe it was a suit. I don't believe that short, portly guy was the Bigfoot. I just don't. It just
Right.
doesn't gel. I mean, he may have, that Sasquatch Patty had breasts, and this guy had man boobs, but nothing like Patty had. And also, if you're looking at that footage, we didn't. If it was done now, it could be very skeptical because we have silicone, and when you put a silicone mask on or a bodysuit, whatever your muscles do, it will mimic that in the silicone, so you can get that. We didn't have it back then. No one was using it, and it's legit. As far as the other stuff that's coming on, and some people are trying to, well, there was a massacre and there was this and that, and I don't know. It's off camera and it's all hearsay, kind of like everything in the disclosure UFO world right now, especially with David Goresh. Everything's hearsay. Here's your proof. Well, I'd have to talk to you behind closed doors. And basically, he's telling me that, him and his cousin were down at 31 Flavors and they heard Ferris Bueller saw a UFO and an alien. And everybody's eating it up, And I'm one of the few people, I'm not buying the BS. It's hearsay.
Yes.
And you're throwing people under buses. So sorry if you're not, if I'm ruining your week. I'm not meaning to, but I don't have time for the BS to go through it. And if you give me evidence, I'm the first one that'll say, yep, I messed up. We got new evidence and it's clear, there's something here. But that's how I roll, right?
No, and I appreciate that. And yes, Patterson Gimlin, you can't debate that. And really briefly, I have to say something. Cynthia Prince is in the house, and I have to apologize to Cynthia because twice the other day, I called her Cynthia Price because she gifted 5 BMR pirate memberships, mateys, to me, and I said, thank you, Cynthia Price, but it's Prince. So I don't know if she caught that. So I felt bad about it. It bugged me until I was hoping to see her again. So thank you, Cynthia, for the other day for that. I didn't mean to botch your name. And hell, I can read. I kept saying Price. I don't know why. So
I'll tell
there
you,
you have it.
You guys, Brandy, your crew, Rob, Tex, all you guys, you have one of the best freaking networks in relationship to what's going on. It's fun, it's entertaining, and I love when I'm anytime you guys want me on, I'm there. That there's a lot of love for you guys and what you do, and I appreciate it. It is so informative, and you have good guests. Some people can be controversial, but you back it up, and what's great is not that you take no one wants to beat anybody up over stuff, but if you're coming out with some BS, be prepared because it's not going to be like, oh, that was so fantastic. And the ET was smoking Marlboro Reds. It's
Right.
not going to be that, so I just had to say that.
Well, I do
shows,
appreciate that.
Yeah. I mean, it's good. There are very few people that are doing what you're doing. And I appreciate that. I mean, along with Dave Scott, who gave me the moniker of 19,000 podcasts.
Yeah.
Yeah. which he has me. Well, Dave. He
Yeah.
calls me like about 2 months ago. He's like, "Hey, buddy." I'm like, "What's up?" He
Yeah.
goes, "I got this weekend show, and they're looking for a UFO guy." I'm like, "Oh God." All right, Dave. So I'm doing like a half an hour on Rob Gee's show on Saturdays, which is good because it actually starts at 1:00. So it's like 1 to 1:30 in the morning, which is doable, as opposed to anybody on the East Coast when it's like the last hour is like almost 3:00 in the morning. I'm
It
like,
is.
dude, I
It
can't do
is.
that anymore.
Well, listen, yes, Brian, it's so funny. Last week, Dave knows that when he's at midnight is when he's on my time.
Right.
Mhm.
And I get a call. Actually, it's Dave Scott. And it's like, getting close to his show time. Hey, buddy.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm like, hi, Davey. Well,
What you doing?
yeah, how you been? I'm great. Well, the cryptid report, which now the cryptid report comes on my time, 2:00 in the morning.
Jesus.
Would you
Yeah,
mind? And this
that's
is like
tough.
3 hours before show. Would you mind coming on doing the cryptid report for me? And I play games with him. Really, Dave? Yeah, yeah. He goes, I know that's a yes, Robbie. I'm like, yes,
Yeah,
I'll
it's
be
a
there.
yes. You know what? Dave's
I'll
a great
be
guy.
there.
I'll
Yeah,
tell you
I'll do
what,
it. Yeah,
because of Dave's show and SOR, Dirty Filth, who does the
yeah.
cartoons.
Oh, yes,
Yeah, I
yeah.
got my card this year from him.
Absolutely, that's awesome. And
Yeah.
Dirty Filth's a great
He's
artist.
he's so much fun. Him is, I really wish I got out there to Vegas. I just couldn't because of my previous medical event, which was fun.
Yes.
Please avoid having heart
Mhm.
attacks.
Yes,
But
thank you.
I got the all clear this year, so I may be going to Reno 911, um, whatever it is out there. But it'd be great to, yeah. Dave's got somehow he gets you to do things. He's like, "Hey, buddy." I'm like, "Oh shit, let's
Yeah,
go."
yeah, he just got that charm, I guess.
Well,
We know it, but he still
his
breaks
guest,
us.
yeah, his guest. I filled in when Butch Wataski, who was a
Yeah,
really dear friend of mine. I got really, really close to Butch. He was great. Butch was in the hospital the first I was filling in, and those are big boots to fill.
yep.
Okay.
Mm,
I mean, I know a lot of my stuff. I'm not an expert. I have a lot of experience. Okay. There are no experts in this field whatsoever, unless
mm,
you work for the government and you're in a secret lab someplace.
right.
So seriously, so I'm trying to fill in those shoot, and I'm you don't want to do this justice. And he was great, So I was filling those things in. But recently, also he had me come on. Hey, can you come on in? Sure. And now instead of going to like whatever it is, I'm on the East Coast, so it's midnight to 3 in the morning.
Yep.
He's like he went to like midnight to 2. Okay, so that's still doable. 2 is kind of rough depending how young your kids are.
Yes.
And he goes, "Hey, can you think you can stay on a half an hour?" I'm like, "Dave, it's fucking 2:30 in the morning. Of course I can stay on another half an hour." The problem is you try to go to bed like, "Wow, that was a good show."
Well,
99, 100. Okay, they're all up. You can't sleep.
well, no, you can't because I got off. Well, and of course, I said this is the short segment. He goes, "Oh yeah, yeah, it's the short," and it was a 15-minute segment. But he doesn't release me. We talk. For another 40. Now it's 3 in the morning.
Yep.
Closing out the show, and now I'm wired because it was a good show. I enjoyed it,
Yeah.
and now
Yep.
I didn't fall asleep till like 6 a.m. because when I get off the show, my adrenaline is pumping.
Oh yeah. I
And
mean, when you have a good show, whether you have
you're
a
right.
really great guest or like, wow, we killed it.
Yeah.
That was a great show. Everybody's going crazy in the chat. It was great. And then you're all jazzed up. And to get all jazzed up at 3 in the morning, not good.
No.
Like, I'll give you an example. I was doing some stuff last night. I was talking a lot of chatter going on about different things, and we'll talk about some of it today.
Okay.
And by the time you finish, you cool down, you try to get to sleep. It's like it was like 1:00 in the morning, and my daughter turned 12, so my other half's
Oh,
like,
happy birthday, by the way. I
oh
seen
yeah,
that
yeah,
on Facebook.
Yes.
yep. She's a pistol. She's an old soul. She's awesome actually. And sees things and knows things. I'll give you an old soul demonstration. When she was 4 years old, I was cleaning out my grandmother's house because my brother was selling the house, and my stuff was there, and it was very upsetting for me. But we were doing everything we can to take stuff that was important, and I had her there, and I said, "I'm going to take her to the car and let her sleep or a nap." And I put her in the car, and I'm just steamed because I love my grandmother. She was more of a mother to me than my mother. And then she's sleeping for about a half an hour. And then I hear from the back the following. I was with your grandmother before I came here. I said, "Oh, you were?" She goes,
Okay.
"Yes, she's a really nice lady." I said, "Yeah, she was the best." She goes, "Yeah, but she does this annoying thing with her mouth." I'm like, "She does?" She goes, "Yep." She goes, "Hmm, hmm, 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 hmm." And my brain's like, "Holy crap." I said, "Yeah, she does do that." My grandmother died decades before she was born, and I've
Wow.
never discussed it with
Oh.
her. And I used to, my grandmother was a very nice lady, helped to raise me and my brothers. And one thing she used to annoy me with, she used to hum, and my daughter got it. Yeah, she's an old soul.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
yep,
Absolutely.
I
I
have to
love
bring
that
that in.
though.
But yeah,
I love those experiences. I mean, it's haunting, but it puts a smile on your face. It's just
oh,
so.
it definitely does.
Mm.
It's well, it's interesting because I do believe that some individuals come back, reincarnate, or come here and they're sent here for a reason, and they come in quickly, and they don't get fully. I don't want to say, like all that stuff, removed from the system, but it kind of gets blocked or locked in the subconscious for the most part, right?
Mhm.
You're getting paged to smile, Rob.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty much always smiling, but thanks, RJ. I saw that.
Yeah. So, but some people slip through the cracks and they come here and they're above special. And they could be your kids, they could be, there's something about, I mean, I think we've all experienced someone like that kid is just like, wow, there's something about it.
Mhm.
And this
Mhm.
I want to have the same attitude my youngest has. She doesn't let things bother her. She's just people like her. I mean, she's the type of kid where I'm gonna like, "Where'd you get that Lambo?" "Oh, I saw this guy and I said, he had a really nice car." I said it was nice and he gave it to me. She's one of those. I was never like that. No one's like, "Here, kid, get this." She just says something. "Oh, I love," does it all the time we go out. "I really love your earrings." Like if she's here, she's, "Oh, I love your braid." She just points and it totally changes people's attitude.
You
Mhm.
know,
And that's part of it. I mean, if we can all, I mean, it's tough because the holiday season between family members, that can kill you. Okay.
Right. Yes.
it
Okay.
Yes.
can.
That's why there better be extra rum in the eggnog. Okay. Or whatever you want to use in the
Whatever you
eggnog.
want to use, and
Yeah.
and most people know that listen to my show. I don't really like talking about me, my experience. I've seen all sorts of things. Trust me.
Right.
But when you say something, the story you just said, when things resonate with me, I always have to expound, especially this story. Brandy's heard this story. I don't
Mhm.
know how many people have heard this before about my father. He had passed away. He's been gone now 7, 8 years. Okay. And I was always, and he was a veteran and he would always fly the American flag. He put it up on memorial and kept it through the end of summer. And it was very, and so my mom's and I she put up dad's flag. I'm like, absolutely I can, just after he had died. And this flag, it was held in by this little itty bitty screw, okay? And it held this flag in place. How he did it, I can't tell you. He did it. Okay. I go to put the flag up on the porch, fly the flag, thinking about dad. I'm having, good positive thoughts, despite he had just passed the year prior. So it's really tough still. So on the porch, the top of the porch has got a lot of it's got a lot of grooves, a lot of indentations, if you get my drift. And in front of the porch, a lot of shrubbery, and the flag flies out over all of this. So here I get the flag in. I should have somebody help me. I'm trying to balance the flag and get this little microscopic screw in the hole that was size of a pin. And guess what I did? Dropped it.
Oh,
Dropped
no.
it. And again, as I spoke earlier, that top of that the porch, grooves, indentations. We're looking at something you have to literally use a microscope to find. Literally, I am not embellishing this at all. And then you got the shrubbery in front. Talk about a needle in a haystack. I spent on my hands and knees 2.5 hours at least. I got down in back of the shrub, scratched my body up looking for this, and I'm about ready to cry. Can't find this. I told my mom, gave her the bad news. I said, well, Mom, we're going to have to get a new flag and fly it. Oh, that's your father's. He's had it so long. Yeah, I know. And I felt the same way. I hadn't really spoken with my dad mentally. Maybe I had when he passed. Dad, how you doing? All the things we all do when we're grieving. I go in my basement of my parents' house, I should say, right? And I'm sitting there. And I'm just like, Dad, you got to help me here. I want to fly your flag. I'm upset. Mom is upset. I'm going to give it the old college try one more time, but if not, I'm going to have to replace it, Dad. And I go up onto the porch. I go up the stairs to the top of the porch. And kid you not, I look down and I seen this gleam, this glint, bright gleam and glint. What the hell is that? And I'm starting to think, whoa, what is this? I get on my hands and knees, and it was the screw.
Yep.
And I fastened the flag. And if I never believed in speaking or having communications with people in the afterlife, because I believed people had these experiences. I just never had one. That
Right.
was my first one. And that's one of my favorite stories to tell people. It is. And
That's how you know he's always watching over you
yeah.
and your mom and your other, family members that
Mm.
um I love my, the grandmother that we were talking about before, my grandfather. I was, was closer to my parents, my mother's parents than my father's parents. My father's
Yeah.
parents were wonderful people, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
We saw them all the time. And there was one time, a lot of the times when you have this type of experience, you had it in person, daylight, you're awake, and then you kind of like, that was your way of saying, Dad, I need help. Can you
Yeah.
help me? And Dad's like, dummy, whatever they used to do when you did like something stupid, whatever it is. And he's like, here's the screw, because he wanted, I think it was combination. Why haven't you talked to me? Or,
Mhm.
ask me for help.
Sure.
And he also didn't want to disappoint you or mom. And, so he did what he did, which is wonderful, right?
Yes.
With my grandfather, a lot of times people have similar situations, but it's through dream time. And
Okay.
there are two things. So when you're sleeping, when you're at rest, it's the easiest moment where you connect to source. And when I say source, I'm talking about the Akash record and God and whatever. And you'll have dreams and then you'll have experiences. And the difference is, in a dream, it's kind of vague. It's like, I think there was a snake, it was going through a vest, not sure. And then there was another one, it's like, so Brandy and BMR, they were hanging out, they were doing shots with each other. That's when Tex took out a 6-shooter and he was gold Colt, and you get all the details.
Yeah.
That wasn't a dream. That was taking place. That's how it works. So I remember I walk into this is dream time. I walk into this place. It looks like a restaurant or delicatessen. And if you're in a big city, kind of like those tables that they put together in those, the 4 chairs. If you've ever been to a real deli, there's a counter or whatever. And I walk in and I look, there's a gentleman sitting. It's empty except for this gentleman. And I go around the corner, round over to him. And as I'm walking, I'm like, I know who this is my grandfather. My grandfather died when I was 16.
Mm.
This is what was probably 20 years ago when I had this, right? And he stands up and I go, Grandpa. He shakes my hand, gives me a hug. I can feel his beard, his 5 o'clock shadow. We sit down and go, oh my God, Grandpa. I'm saying my grandma misses you. I'm like, you're dead. What are you doing here? He goes, I'm worried about your mom. I'm worried about Mom, which is my mother, his daughter. I said, yeah, okay, but grandma's really lonely. And she goes, don't worry, I will see her soon. I'm worried about mom. So I said, okay. So I started listening, and I'm sitting at a table with my grandfather. I felt his beard, and he was concerned about it. And it's one of those things where you wake up and you're like, maybe it's a dream, maybe it's not. I don't know. I'm not going to go out there. Hey, I had a dream about grandpa, whatever. But he was concerned about our health and well-being. Well, fast forward a week and a half later, my mother has a heart attack because she's not doing what she's supposed to do and listening. She goes into the hospital. They do the whole heart attack thing. 3 or 4 days later, they release her, and instead of her going to a rehab to kind of get back into shape, she decides to give them the old finger, F you, I want to go home. So me and my brothers are talking. This is what my grandfather was talking about. And I told her what it was. I said, you made a big mistake. You needed to go to rehab. But now that you came home, you can't do it. So these things do happen. Another example is in 2019, I had a friend I met at work. His name's Rob. Really great guy. They used to call him El Grande because Rob was like 6'7", 6'8". We used to chat for hours on things esoteric. He was a Lutheran. He was very religious, and we would debate different things and different you would call it Q or QAnon. And my comment was always like, this sounds great. Arrest somebody, and then I'll start believing in it. Okay. Because it's like, this is all hearsay. But we do spiritual things. He was praying. It was during the COVID, and he felt this just as he was connecting while he was praying on his bed. He felt this energy come around him, and just before it engulfed him, he'd wake up and he'd get scared. So he'd freak out. So I said, okay, what you're doing there is you're trying to connect your brain, body, mind, heart, and soul. And once you do that, you raise your vibration, you go up higher, and you ascend to a certain level, and you get closer to really talking to God. On top of that, he would tell me these dreams because he'd freak out that he said, I'd wake up, it would be black, and everything around me was fire. And I'm trying to get out, and no one could hear me. So we were kind of like debating what it was. He said, maybe because of COVID and all this stuff, we're all trapped indoors, whatever. So fast forward a month later, he's not feeling well. I said, Rob, you got to go to the doctor. If worse comes worse, I will come over to your house and drag your ass out. Because go to a doc in the box. What are you waiting for? He doesn't listen, but his brother, he gets to the point where he calls his brother. His brother comes to get him. They go to his brother's doctor. He walks in the doctor's office. The doctor says, take him to the hospital. Goes to the hospital, finds out he has cancer, stage 4, out of control on his spine, his lung, spine, and brain. So I'm talking to him while he's in the hospital. They're being very aggressive with treatment. His brother's there, and we're talking. And the last words I heard from him were, he always said, I put my faith in God. And he said, I'm scared. And I said, Rob, I know you are. I love you, brother. But remember what you say. You put your faith in God, you'll be fine. And that was Wednesday night. And I hung up with him, went on for a couple hours. About 11 o'clock at night, I'm getting up from my place to use the restroom. And as I'm walking out, quickly, I catch on the shadow. I see Rob standing there. So it's like enough for me to go and look. Now, if you've been on a paranormal investigation, which you have, sometimes they appear peripheral, right?
Yeah.
He was just standing there. He was just there, like kind of smiling. And I'm like, okay, he's not there. Go about it. Don't know what to tell you. I knew he died. 2 days, that Friday after that Wednesday night, that Friday, I get a phone call. Haven't heard from him, texting him Thursday all day, texting, how's it going, whatever. I get a phone call on Friday. It's a 203 number, Connecticut. And I stopped what I was doing. I knew I'd answer the phone. That's it, 203 and whatever the number is. Pick up the phone. It's Rob's sister, his older sister. And she tells me, Rob, I just got to let you know, Rob passed away. And I knew it. And I said, well, I said, unfortunately, that, it's heartbreaking. It's really upsetting. And I knew. And I said, I didn't tell her, but I'm like, and she said, Rob was made sure that I contacted you because of all the talks you used to have and the friendship you have. It was like a brotherhood to go to the service. So I said, I'll be there. So I go to his viewing. His birthday was in April, like April 10th. And the viewing was April 9th, the day before. Something to that effect. And I go there and I go upstate New York, and it's near actually a really great mountain where we've had a lot of paranormal activity and Bigfoot stuff and what have you. But we're there, and his his mother's there, his brother and his wife and his sister, whatever, they're there. And I go up and introduce, and of course, he's being viewed, which is really weird. If you're not used to seeing a dead body before, especially someone you cared about as a friend or a brother or whatever, it can be tough. But he wasn't in pain anymore. And I go up high, and they were like, "Oh my God, bro, whatever. Rob talked highly of you." I sent them flowers and condolences. And I'm sitting there talking to a couple other people. He didn't have that many friends show up, but we started talking, and I figured down the line, I'll go visit him at the grave. That's you bury people. Well, I find out at the end that's what I was thinking. Like, I'm gonna miss you, but I could always stop by, chat with you at graveside. I find out later on he wasn't being buried. He's being cremated. And the dreams that he was having where he couldn't get out was because he was seeing his own death. And that's
Wow.
taking place. So that was like, holy crap. And when there's certain people that leave your life that you really appreciate, right? You used to talk to them. They're the only people you could talk to. So this was like a couple months later. And I'm walking into my house by myself, my apartment in New York. And I'm like, man, Rob, it just caught me like, I really miss our conversation. I'm like, damn, man, Rob, I hope you're all right. I hope you're doing all right. And I hear, yeah, I'm good, man. And I'm like, okay, I just heard that in my head. I'm making this up. He goes, no, you didn't. I literally was talking to him. And at that point, I got what do you call there's different abilities that people have. Everybody can do it. You just got to put the time into it. It's called Clairaudience.
Okay.
And that's when you can hear people talking to you. Now, sometimes you can verbally hear it. You'll hear your name like Brandy, like you turn around, like someone call my name, right? That's Clairaudience. It's on different scales. When you're really good, you'll actually hear a conversation with you. He was talking. I'm like, you're talking to me, aren't you? Yeah. Started asking some questions. He goes, yeah, it's all right. It's different. It's a lot of peace here. I'm not in pain, kind of confirming things. And I threw something like, what did we talk about the night you were, and he said, I was scared. I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. I know what I'm dealing with here. It wasn't until I called one of my favorite psychics and a friend of mine, Katie Turner, who's out of Canada. I'm like, all right, this is just what happened. She goes, oh my God, you got Clairaudience. And I'm like, I don't care who Claire is. She can keep her effing audio, because from that point forward, you hear things in an audio tone as if someone's in the room with you, but you can also hear it in your mind's eye. And a lot of stuff that you get when God makes you in his image and you have the abilities to communicate to God, you'll call it telepathically. It's your mind's eye. You just know it as if you know your own name. I hear things internally too. So it's pretty interesting how these things do happen. And it's very weird. And I'm on the science side of a lot of stuff because I'm like, okay, I'm a little skeptical, but when it happens and then it happens again and it happens again, you got to fall in line with it. Right. So that's what's going on. And this is a season to get a lot of, everybody's in your chat. A lot of people kind of visit people during this season. So I would expect many people to get an experience like that. It may not be a voice, but maybe like dad's favorite light goes on or his shaver goes on by accident or something of mom's, like who took this out? That's mom's favorite glass. You may see that,
No, I agree. I've noticed when my dad passed, and again we'll change subjects really quickly after this. But when he passed, again that was the first for me personally. I can't speak really on my girlfriend of what happened with her, to 2018. But as far as immediate family, right? your loved ones, your father, your mother. That's only the first person in my entire family that ever died. That was the hardest thing for me ever.
Oh yeah.
Yes, grandmas and grandpas had passed, but when I was littler, and of course as a little boy, you're like all upset. But yeah, and that hit us. And funny things that you've just said, and they're not funny, but there's always little things around the holidays, around the house, my mom's, mine, whatever. A light bulb in the closet would be on that he always forgot to shut off, but always around Christmas or his birthday,
Yep.
just little things like that.
And you know what? It's pretty cool because there's going to be some people like, oh, you're crazy. You didn't, X, Y, and Z. Like, no, I'm not crazy. I know Dad's here. And you can talk. If you literally start talking to them, they can hear you. They may not be able to do everything you want them to do. How come Dad doesn't visit me? I'm like, well, he always thought you were an asshole. I mean, like, there are some family members you can say that about, right? But this is what happens, and it's very interesting. A lot of times when people pass away, you'll get signs on a daily basis, not necessarily in your house. You'll see feathers. You'll walk across, there'll be a feather, okay? Or you'll get coins. That is usually an indication that someone's paying attention to you and someone you love is there saying, hey, I'm okay. Also, you'll see cardinals. Big time. Cardinals is a huge sign that someone that you love is there protecting you, watching over you all the time, every time. And you could, some people will say you're crazy. It's just a freaking bird, or it's just a dog, or just they come back to. It's not. It is what it is. If you don't believe it, don't believe it. I mean, it's just what's going on. But this is the nature of paranormal, right? Like, people have an experience, like, dude, I just saw Bigfoot. Depending on who your friends are, you'd be like, yeah, you did. You stop at dispensary before you see Bigfoot? You're like, no, I didn't stop at the dispensary. But some people won't believe your evidence. I mean, speaking of evidence, I have probably the best evidence on the planet that's out there. And I think I'm going to share it with you right now.
Okay, you can share that. While I wait for that to pull up, I have to make just a brief thing. This is not a big deal. For some of our moderators who have not been here for a while, that's fine.
Yeah.
We've been getting comments. I've been getting inundated with so many people saying, how come you promote so-and-so and another person? So we have for our moderators, we have decided moving forward, we promote our guests links, the Blondes and Booze, Texas Front Porch, Bigfoot Michigan Rob, and Inhumanoids with Bart Nunnally. And after that, they're on their own promoting links because they don't. It's just a thing. It's political, and just for those of you that haven't been with us for a while, those are what we want moving forward on the channel when we promote folks, our guests and our porch family, because it just gets to be too mundane. I can't feel people saying, how can you promote these people? It's not that I don't want to. It's just that you got to draw a line somewhere. So thank you, for that. And you haven't been here in a while, and I appreciate everything you do for me. Thank you. Keep up the good work.
And to preface before you show this is two Bigfoot, a male and female Bigfoot, and they're young and they're frolicking. This is the best Bigfoot evidence you will ever see in the planet, and you can just show it to everybody right now.
Well, I'm going to pull it up.
Pull it up. I mean, can't you see that right there? Isn't that the best evidence? Clearly, I mean, you can see the breasts on the one on the right. I mean,
I tell you what, I'm flabbergasted.
Isn't it the best evidence? I love that. I mean, like, and the little one in the front, the foreground. This is the problem with the freaking paranormal today. I had to do that. I apologize.
Well, no.
That is the best paranormal evidence ever. I did another one. I just threw up. People were throwing up some hazy, dark, over contrasted images like, dude, it's a Bigfoot, or there's 6 Dogman in a tree. And I threw up a black, literally all black square, Loch Ness playing polo, and people were like, dude, where is it? It's right there. Can't you see it? This is the problem with the paranormal, right?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
and and okay, on my Facebook group page, it's almost like someone sent a post over, and listen, I don't condemn anybody. I think a lot of people are honestly thinking they're seeing things, but when you get a picture sent to you and 95% of it's covered in red circles,
Red circles.
I can't see anything.
And an arrow. Everyone's, you have to have that arrow in some place.
This is me in the background, and this is the telephone pole, and
This is an
what was,
eye. It's like arrow with like EYE on.
and again, I don't make fun of anybody, but I do get a chuckle out of some of these. And for everybody that does that, do what you like to do. I'm not going to judge you, but it's like, oh my gosh. And then it makes it more confusing. What the hell am I supposed to see here? Send me something with nothing.
And then
let me,
right.
Controversy, right? So what you do, I'm not about beating up people, and I'm not about like, you're an idiot or what. I just don't do that. You cannot discredit what people actually experience. They are experiencing something clearly, but I'm not there to judge. I wasn't there. Okay. So I'm going to give you the benefit of that. You had an experience, but what you're presenting, there's not and this is what I say to everybody, because it's true. There's not enough evidence to make a clear decision or come to a clear conclusion, because that's the case. Because if you say it's pareidolia, then they go like, why are you being a hater? Like, I'm not being a hater. And then the next thing you know, they block you. Right.
Well, yeah. Well, let me, I know. And let me ask you about this though, which it's harder for me. I can pick things out in photos or videos. Okay. I guess 50-50 perhaps. But what and I mentioned backstage, what I really love is evidence sent over that's in audio, a whoop, a howl, a scream, a yell, verbiage, or
chatter.
Yeah, chatter.
Yeah.
But I understand though that there is a such thing as, and correct me if I'm wrong, but someone was telling me there's such thing as vocalizations that are vocal pareidolia.
Well, you can get vocal artifacts. It depends. It's really interesting. Some of these recordings, some of the audio recording devices, depending on what the frequency and where the microphone is set, you can get some artifacts from it that sound a little. It draws out the audio. It doesn't record it properly, so it kind of sounds like it's like an extended or a slur, and it can be misconstrued as a whoop or some kind of noise, like other audio. For some reason, it can't. It's not built well enough. We've had one or two of these cameras where you can hear the camera moving, the parts moving, and it makes a certain like a movement sound. Like you listen to it. Remember that? Let's state ourselves. VCR. You can hear the head kind of spinning. That's what it sounds like. Then you got a couple of I think it's the Zoom microphone. I forgot what number it is. Their recorder, it's a thin portable recorder. It has the twisted dual recording, stereo recording. Their microphones actually pick up infrasound.
Oh, wow.
And if you're going out Bigfoot investigating, I don't like to call it hunting because no one's hunting wabbits here. Okay. And if they don't want you to find them, you're not going to find them. They know already. But you want to take that one with you. And then here's a pro tip. You want to look at the audio in a spectrogram, because they're going to be it's going to give you the decibels, positive and negative, and where the infrasound area is. See if you catch something in that area and enhance that. And I guarantee you, if you have something in infrasound zone, you have some real evidence there. And I agree with you, BMR. We were doing an investigation up at Letchworth Village in upstate New York, the cemetery. Now, Letchworth Village was 28 plus thousand acres, a facility for mentally challenged, disfigured, bastard, unwanted people. And they experimented on them, and a lot of innocent individuals, from babies that were days old until, upwards of, individuals that may have been working there and then they got killed or unalived at a certain point, or that another people experimented, their bodies were put separately at the other end of the property in their own grave. So we're in paranormal zone right now.
Mm-hmm.
To get there, you have to take this country like this country road. It's just 2 lanes, either direction, very quiet, a little bit more on the inside of the woods, near a power line, very little sounds or whatever. And then once you park, you have to walk in over a quarter mile till you get to this mound where all the bodies are buried on. And while we're there, I'm there with Al actually, and we start hearing dog barking, and sound like a pretty damn big dog. And I'm in EVP ghost hunting, that's where I am right now. Not thinking about cryptids. I mean, like, ooh, we're by the power lines, that's squatchy, whatever, but nothing was there. He starts talking about Dogman, right? And I'm like, nah, I'm not getting it, whatever. Long story short, we do the recordings. I have a micro cassette recording. I have video recordings. Sometimes you get great audio, you get crappy video, but some of your best audio is just on your video cassette recorder, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I go listen to the audio, and I'm the one that reviews the evidence, and I listen to all of it. Got the headphones on, running it through. I'm looking through a spectrograph to see where I'm expecting to hear things. And sometimes those things will appear as a little dot on the screen. But if you zoom and it gets bigger, then you have to enhance it.
Okay.
My hand to God, Rob, it sounds like a horse and like wooden cart going down a cobblestone street. You hear that's what it sounds like. Not 1 second were we there, we hear anything like this.
Wow.
And then on top of that, there's another, because I was in Dogman, and that's where we had the Dogman experience thereafter, where I had to pee and I wasn't going to pee on the grave.
Right.
So I went to the car, and Al was yelling at me, "Get in the freaking car, Brian." I'm like, I gotta go. It's like Austin Powers, right?
Yeah.
Until the cryptid was literally no more than, I don't know, 20 feet in front of me. And it was just sitting there on its haunch in the shadows enough where kind of can make out some details. Long ears, really big, massive, bigger than a Great Dane, or there's another one, I forgot the name of it. It's a foreign name. There's a dog that's bigger than a Great Dane.
Okay.
And this thing, again, I'm 6'1". I'm on a 3-foot grade. That makes me 9 feet 1 inches tall. This creature's snout was up to my nose.
Oh, wow.
So maybe a foot shy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm 6'1", so that would make me 8 feet 1 inches tall. That's where his snout was stopping, like right here.
Okay. Well, you know what? We're gonna put a pin in it right there. When we come back, we do have to take the 5-minute break.
Yeah.
When we get back, we're gonna switch gears, as Brian just was mentioning about this encounter. We're gonna get into some cryptids, maybe some aliens, and the different dimensions that they maybe come from. I don't know.
Oh,
We'll
get into that.
We can get into that. Thank you, everybody, for coming on in, and we will be back in 5 after the 5-minute break.
I got nightmares in my head, I fear that the thoughts build up until I can't hear, that my mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Brunch with Bigfoot, Michigan Ride with Bryan Bowden. And of course, my lovely co-host this afternoon, Brandy. Thanks for coming on in. I want to thank TF SEK for your awesome super sticker earlier. The super stickers, the super chats are a great way to help support what we do around here. And it's always greatly appreciated. Thank you to everybody who's bought my book, Bigfoot, Michigan Raw, presents true cryptid encounters found on Amazon. All I ask for those that bought it, do me a favor. When Amazon comes calling, please leave a review. It does help promote sales of the book. I do appreciate it. Get it now before Christmas. I drop the price for the holidays. Thank you for that. Don't forget to subscribe to Texas Front Porch on YouTube, the Blondes and the Booze Paranormal Podcast on YouTube. And did I say Texas Front Porch? I think I did. And Bigfoot Michigan Rob on YouTube. I do have to make another quick announcement again for those of our moderators. Promote. You can dropping links is cool. Drop links for Texas Front Porch, the Blondes and Booze Paranormal Podcast, Bigfoot Rob, our guests. And again, we went away from promoting everybody because simply we don't get reciprocation and other things have been made mention of. And if you've done it, that's okay. You didn't know, and maybe that's my bad. But that's what we're moving forward with as a group. We've decided. And the Paranormal Highway, yes, he's approved because Eric is fabulous. He promotes me almost every single day. He drops videos. Eric's a fantastic guy. He, of course, is on the approved list, but we're not an advertising company. And what goes around comes around. And I hate to sound like a dick, but that's just the way it goes sometimes. And it is the holidays. Penny Van, I dropped her email. She's going through a tough time. Her email, reach out to her if you would. I think her email is also her PayPal. Going through a tough time. I'm not going to speak about what's going on with Penny, but she is a friend of the show, friend of mine. And yeah, please, reach out to her. Thanks for everybody for donating to this channel. And perhaps you can reach out to Penny as well. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll get Brian's information too. The links will be in this video description moving forward. And don't forget our shows. Texas Front Porch comes on 8 Central Monday, Tuesday, Beyond BMR, 8 Central. Wednesdays, right? Diva Dimension on Texas Front Porch, 9 Central. Thursday, Brunch with Bigfoot Rob, 12 Central. Blondes and the Booze Paranormal Podcast, 8 Central. Fridays, the Blondes, the Booze, and the Woo, at, of course, 8 Central. Text us something called Infamous Minds. It's True Crime with Miss Diva, Saturdays, 3 Central. So I do appreciate that. Thanks for everybody for coming on in and for your support. With that being said, we're going to move on with, I'm going to bring up the lovely Brandy once again.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've got one thing I've got to say first. I mean, you went through all of that and you were talking,
yeah,
but
yeah,
I
yeah,
have one more shameless plug, just one more.
yeah.
You too can become a BMR pirate for a low price of
Arr,
$2.99 a month. Arg!
arr. Thank you for that, Brandy. I was doing a speedy re-intro into the show, and yes, thank you. Become a pirate. Arr.
And
Arg!
it's a good gift for the holidays for friends and
Great
family, so you can
gift.
give those out as well.
And
Yes.
you get a picture of me, next to your name. That's what you get. What can I say?
You know what I got to
But
do? We'll talk about this later, but I got to get you bandanas made up with BMR on them.
yes, you do. I've been
I can
looking.
do
I've been
that. That's what I
searching.
do on the side.
You know what,
We do
man?
screen printing and
I've
branding.
been,
So
I tell you what, I use Teespring, and I'm not going to even promote my goods on Teespring. It is what it is. I got it, and I made up some of my own bandanas. I ordered one. It's crap. I don't even want people to buy them. But yes, Brian, because I've been told by more than a lot of people they
Yeah.
like nice, authentic BMR bandana, and
I
I
got
think
another thing for you that we do. We've done this for a lot of parties, personal parties for people having confirmations or whatever, party. We do a lot of sweatshirts, and on the inside of the sweatshirt, we have a company and that is exclusively to us. They take out the insert and they'll put your BMR logo in the sweatshirt hoodie.
you know what,
Nice.
Yeah.
Brian. Yes, let's
So they
get
can
on
do a
that.
BMR, they can do a blondes and booze and
Well,
Texas front porch. So
tell you what, thank you for that because Tex has been searching Brandy, Krista. Well, Brandy and Krista have a pretty good vendor, but yes, we're always looking to expand, better quality,
100%.
better pricing, things
If
of
you
that
have
nature.
a good vendor that's gonna, give you a good price, you stick with the vendor.
Right.
Look, we all know about Amazon and all that other stuff, but
Yeah.
look, mom and pop shops are really important. And the more we have them, the more this economy is in our favor. So kind of
Yes.
support your local um
Oh, for
versus
sure.
going to like some of the big companies because we already know what you're going to sell them for. We can get you really good pricing and on almost just about everything. I'm just saying, and your vendor too, Brandy, they could probably hook you up with whatever. Give these guys, these men and women, they have families, they want to have a good Christmas too. And it's a tough economy. So definitely support locally,
Oh,
and
yeah,
try to keep it,
absolutely.
know,
It's
going.
well, and we'll get on with the show, but I was so disappointed. I do like Best Buy, and I owned a business, right? And I am brick and mortar. I do go into the local freestanding buildings to shop. Have I used Amazon? Of course. But I
Yeah.
love going in and talking to people because I love just talking and BSing with people and showing them support. I was so disappointed because 2 weeks ago, there's a Best Buy in my neighborhood, and I don't buy nothing from Best Buy direct online. I go to the store. It saddened me because they were closed, man. They closed their doors for good.
That's the
Oh
problem.
no.
And yeah, and online is cool and all, but man, I'm traditional. I'm for business. I'm a capitalist, I guess, but I love businesses, freestanding businesses, and so many have closed over the last 5 years, let's say, is
Right.
big
Mhm.
time.
Part of it's getting out there, touching this stuff, playing around with it.
Yeah,
You can buy TV online through reviews, but there's nothing that says, I want to see it in person. Oh, that looks better. Okay, what's that? And then you get the information. Yeah, could it be a pain in the, whatever, taking it home? Sometimes it is. But like Rob says, you meet people, you make new friends. Like I was chatting with somebody over in a Barnes and Noble, and some guy came out and they listened to me and Ron Murphy when we do Inside the Goblin Universe. They go, do you do a podcast? And I'm like, who the hell is this? And they recognized my voice, and then we started doing video towards the end. Like, you're that podcast guy. I'm like, who? The Guru. I'm like, no, that's not me. That's Ron. That's not me. That's me. I'm the other guy. I'm the other white meat. But this is how you meet people,
You're
right?
right.
If you're stuck in your house, trust me. How much did it suck when you were stuck in your house for the year plus that we were? And don't, we'll never get that family moment or that time back. Get out,
Yes,
shop.
getting out.
And
My favorite time,
you
Christmas time. I love going. I don't buy my Christmas presents for people on Amazon. I go into the store because I love this time of year and I love going and I get a good feeling about it. And that's just me. And I've always been that way. And again, it's disheartening to see, these businesses just
closing
going
shop.
bankrupt and closing shop.
Well, I
Terrible.
mean, it's partially that, and I also get kind of upset with when you go in and you're working the checkout. They have two
Yeah.
people there. Well, if I have to check myself out, I want the employee discount. Like that's the bottom line. Whatever it
go.
is, give me that damn discount. I want, although sometimes it's faster, I want you to employ somebody here to check me out. I want somebody also, not trying to be what do they call it, prima donna or whatever it is. I want to employ people. You've made enough money off the public. Start employing people. If you're gonna
Yeah.
make me check my stuff out, and then when I have to, and I have the receipt, and there's a person there at the checkout, and then you go through the Gestapo when you get coming out of a Walmart. I'm like, I don't even show the sticker anymore. I'm like, no, I already did it. She got it. Bye. See it. I just either employ people or don't have me check out. You got to
Yeah.
do something.
Well, Danny, I do appreciate that. You bought my book online, and I will say this, and this has spurred another thing. After the first of the year, my book, I got word that they're working on it, and my book may be on the bookshelves of Barnes and Noble. Let's hope that
Awesome.
so let's hope that happens. So again,
So I appreciate also, and I want to thank Rob. You did send me a copy of it. And it
okay,
said,
yeah,
thanks for being that. It was really
yeah,
nicely and said something at the end like lose some weight, Brian. That's which is
yeah.
Rob. No,
I said it. I might have said let's go marlin fishing.
But you know what you should do though? You should probably maybe include something, to have also like if you want to buy the book from you, because you probably can get them some books,
Yeah.
and you can autograph it, if you can't physically have a copy. Something we were talking about on the Three Beards that I'm on Wednesdays is, and they brought it up, and I forgot about this because they do it. You can sell somebody and say, listen, if you want an autographed copy from Rob, go contact him, give him a link, pay like, whatever it is, $5, and you will send them in the mail. It's called an author's plate. It's basically
wow.
a sticker. And what they used to do is they'd send all these stickers to the author. He'd sign, he or she would sign the sticker. And then what they do is they put it in the inside cover of the book, and it's an autographed
Nice.
copy. That's how they used to do it in the past. Now, some people don't want to give their address away to everybody. So,
right.
if you give me your name and address through, like you do it through PayPal, whatever you want to charge for an autograph, and you already bought the copy of the book, that's great. Tell me what you want me to write in it. I'll sign it on an author's plate. And then just once you get it, I'll mail it to you. You stick it right in the book. So that's another way for people to get an autographed copy from you, Rob.
Well, that's great. And of course, we're going to have to talk because I like this idea, and of course the merchandising with the BMR bandana. People, I could sell 1 million of those. I think I got that feeling.
Yeah.
So thanks for all that. Thanks for coming on.
Oh, and my pleasure. Are we in the cryptid zone?
Let's turn to the cryptid zone. I said world.
We got to get back to a story. We got to get back to a story.
If you remember, continue with that, and then I got something for you after that, Brian.
Right. So we were at the Letchworth Cemetery, and listening to the audio, I heard the cart and the horse, the clapping of the feet on cobblestone, basically, which would kind of gel because that roadway was made from stone, cobblestones. And there are still some areas that have the cobblestones down on the ground, which is very interesting. But another thing is I can't get to it right now because I just thought of it, is there's an audio of me. You hear something beeping, boop, boop. I think it's an EMF detector or K2 or whatever. We're in the cemetery, and you hear me say to Al, I'm like, did you just say something? And Al goes, nope. And the next thing you hear is really loud between us. So he was on a Dogman kick. We heard it right then and there. And then later on, after that whole event was over, we were like, we're done for the evening. And That's when I had my Dogman encounter. And yes, I was peeing no more than 20 feet in front of the Dogman, which not the greatest thing to do. If you know anything about dogs, when you urinate in front of a dog, you're telling them that you're the alpha and they're your bitch. And that's basically what it was. So I always wanted to do a cartoon. I think I'm gonna have Dirty Filth do it, of like that scene, and then the Dogman going back and sitting around a campfire smoking, like, and then he peed in front of me. Oh my God, he did, like one of those moments, like I thought he was crazy. Because I think it would be funny. Like, what did the Dogman say? Like, this guy's nuts. So, but something, I've been talking a lot about, it's really interesting, timelines and time shifts, that we're going in and out of different timelines. And what in relationship to cryptids and other items, right? This is where timelines come into play, because this is relationship to the Mandela effect, and this has to do with energy bursts, like when they play around with munitions, TNT. So I don't know if everybody's aware, but there are large sightings of flying humanoid cryptids in the Chicago area.
Yes, there are.
They're coming off of buildings. The FedEx truck guy is seeing it by the FedEx, depot over by the airport. And they're basically, what they look like is long. They look like the Mothman for the most part. Just let your imagination, like Bat Boy. Okay. So there's a lot of these cryptids there, and they've been coming in and out, for a while now. Something of interest is one of the first colliders, not CERN, but it's called Fermilab, and it's in Illinois, and it's a huge piece of property. Okay. And what was interesting is they really ramped that thing up quickly in the late, in the 90s. That's when they ramped all this stuff up. Early to mid 90s, but they shut it down immediately. And they were charged to see something in relationship to like time travel, quantum travel. That was their charter for that type of stuff. They did other experiments there. So my theory is that when they ramped it up, they started up that collider, created these big energy movements. Not only did they create that, the Big Bang Theory, recreate it, but they also affected our timeline and other timelines over and over again. And when they shut it down and they stopped it from taking place because something went wrong, this is where we get the Mandela effect, and I'll explain it. If this is our timeline, this is the blue timeline, okay? Up to a certain point, this would be our timeline. You're traveling along the timeline. They have the collider go off, boom, okay? When they put it back down to get, together, what you now have is this. So you have, it breaks apart not only our timeline, the explosion, it hits other timelines. And when it reforms, it's two timelines. So here's the Mandela effect. From this point to this point, right, where we are right here. This is the cornucopia on the Fruit of the Looms, because I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
But from this point, 1996-ish, 94, 96 on up, there is no cornucopia, because what happened is our timeline and the other timeline, and there's only little differences between each timeline. We can't physically see it just yet. What happened is it stopped here, it broke apart here, and this is where the other timeline comes in, where there is no cornucopia. So now, if we look at the other timeline that made up this, now this had no cornucopia, and now it's connected. There's a cornucopia there. So they're experiencing the Mandela effect there. I could have sworn I knew Nelson Mandela died in prison. And the actual Mandela effect was coined by, her name is Fiona Broom. She's a paranormal investigator. That's who was the one, because she said he died in prison. And then she looked it up and he wasn't dead. So, but this is happening more and more because they keep messing around with colliders. They moved it to CERN. It's a bigger collider. And I could tell you right now, being sensitive to things I know when they're ramping that sucker up because I do readings for people. And I always ask for mile markers, and I can get mile markers. So if I did a reading for you, Brandy, and I said, I see it, you're going to meet somebody and it's going to be around Christmas. I know when it should be. And I've done this, and for at least 4 to 6 people that I did readings for, they'll tell me like, oh my God, I was at the mall and I met, or I was at the mall and that weird thing happened. And now I've gotten my confirmation that I was right. They got a confirmation I was right. And it starts, I know the progress of what I'm seeing for them. I've noticed that once they ramped up CERN, this was like 2 years ago, and every time they do something like that, everything thereafter was off by 4 months. And it was like clockwork. I'm like, I'm waiting for it. It's supposed to happen in September. It doesn't happen in September. So it comes in like, oh, it's Christmas. And what you said just happened, but it's Christmas. So I have to explain to them what's going on. They're playing around with the collider. They're playing around with our timeline. That's why it's happening. But here's another fun part. We talked about the flying humanoids in Chicago, right?
Mm-hmm.
How the hell are they getting there? Okay. We talked about Mothman. How the hell did Mothman get there? Again, Mothman was found by the TNT factory. What do you do with TNT? Well, if I was living in that town, would be stealing some of it and blowing crap up. That's just what we would do, right? You go out with the truck, get a couple of beers, and like blow it up, whatever. The explosion, and I'm sure they tested their TNT to make sure there was consistency, created a fracture in the timeline. Here's what happens. Have you ever broken anything of your parents and then you glued it back together? And
I've
didn't know it?
done well, yeah, way worse,
But
go ahead.
yeah. But you know what I'm saying? Like you've done something like, oh my God, that's mom's vase. Don't worry, we'll glue it back. And you glue it back and it looks like it's good, but it's never perfect, right? I'm doing this. There's always holes and cracks in it. When we brought these timelines together, it wasn't perfect. And those holes and cracks are what allowing these, I wouldn't call them interdimensional beings, the flying cryptids, the Mothman, to go, what the hell is that? And now they're sneaking through the crack in different dimension, interdimensionally into our dimension. And every time they play around with it, it creates another fracture so they can never really get back.
Wow.
On top of that, you guys must have heard about black-eyed kids, right? Black-eyed
Yes.
children.
Yes.
As I said before, not black-eyed peas. Let's get it started.
Right. Yeah.
So black-eyed children, if you look at where they lay on the map of where they appear, a lot of them are in Texas, but also a lot of them are located near universities, and all universities have what on their science campuses? Smaller versions of the collider. And this is my theory.
Sure.
I wish I could prove it. I wish I could videotape a crack and whatever, but in areas that don't have places where they're playing around with these colliders and they're opening maybe portals or dimensions or creating more fractures, they don't have them. I'm literally within miles of major universities, especially in Texas, in California. There's always a university, and if you look into it, one of the things they're claiming, we have a particle accelerator. It's a collider. So this is where they're all coming from. And it's very interesting because, and I'm going to share this now because what the heck? Why not? Because we're getting things that are also coming in, not only interdimensionally into, into what we're doing, into our society, but there's a lot of reports of other animals that are appearing here. And I just shared it with you, Tex. I'm not Tex, Rob. Sorry, you don't have a hat on. And you
I
don't
don't have the full beard yet, but that's so.
Yep, you don't look like Charlie Daniels with a beard, but I just shared a video to you. And let's
Okay.
see. Yeah.
Yeah, why don't we do that? Thank you, for awesome super chat. And yes, I
Yep.
will move on and pull this
So
up.
when you pull it up.
I'll pull it up now, then you can.
Yeah. this is something else that I believe is coming in through the portals, and I'm trying to get the freaking thing on, and I don't even no idea where the hell thing went. I had it on my my StreamYard. I got it up there. Where
Yeah.
did it go? Where did it go? Let me see where I can find it. It should be playing, and I just don't know. I just
Yeah,
had it on.
I'm playing around.
No, you know what? Let me reshare that.
Okay. Pause.
Yeah, so cancel that out, exit that, and then I'll open up that file one more time.
You want me to delete that, or you just want?
You can delete that, or while I'm looking for this video file.
Says kick from studio. That might be you. I don't want to do
No.
that.
Don't
I'll
do
leave that up. I'm gonna leave that up.
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna delete it right now.
Okay.
This, you'll understand what I'm saying when I talk about these portals opening up, and there's a lot of us that do a lot of research, and some of them are light workers. We thoroughly believe that this is the reason why we're having this issue, and we're playing around with timelines. So let me share it one more time.
And before we do that, can you answer this quick question from No?
Yep.
Just dropped off a cool super chat. Is the Mandela effect anything to do with rogue time travelers?
Well, yeah, time travel can screw around with your own timeline, because in theory, if you listen to Einstein, you can't travel, back or forward in time, because it's just not possible to go back before you existed, and there's some other technical stuff. But what he didn't realize is there's more than one timeline. That's where you get multiverses from. That's where you get quantum physics from. So that's what's going on with that. But yeah, you can screw up. You can bring things back, or because when you go from one timeline back to this timeline, you bring little particles with you, and then you leave with other particles. And it's on a quantitative scale, which we couldn't see. And eventually we'll be in a quantitative, once quantum physics is really at the forefront, and it's really close now.
So even
we'll see.
And even really quickly in with CERN and this everything is manipulated. That could be very dangerous right to the planet. We could open up some portal where there's something we don't want coming through. Is that kind of
you don't know what these those human winged creatures in Chicago? I mean,
right.
We don't know if they've killed anything or anyone, but do we have any way of getting rid of them, or there could be things in timelines that, like, there are other timelines where we've evolved to a certain point. They may not have evolved yet to that. They may be prehistoric.
Okay.
Right. Imagine, because there is a video of a couple of dinosaurs being caught on film through investigations, and it's legit. There are people like, dude, we all saw this thing. This was a dinosaur. Now, if you show videotape of it, which there is video, they'll go, oh, that's CGI. That's what they'll tell you. Oh, no, it's not real. It's CGI. Just like, if, people are so cynical of things, they don't believe it. So actually, and I'm going to give you an example of this. I believe this to be true because I have taken several reports all around the country. If you share this video now, you'll see it.
I will share it
And
now.
once it goes live, I will go to my tab. I do not know.
Thanks to Lily she's been putting out all your stuff, Bryan. So
I appreciate it. Much love.
And here we go.
Yep. Here you go. That is a pterodactyl in Idaho. It's not that long a video. We can watch it.
Yeah, sure.
Look at the head of that thing.
Look at that.
That is a little bit zoomed in. Now here's where you get to the gray part, right? Now it's crazy. People go, oh, that's CGI. Well, I don't know. I can't really tell. I haven't put it through, a processor, and CGI is being used a lot lately. But this is one of numerous videos. They've seen this pterodactyl in the state of Florida, in Texas, in Pennsylvania, in Ohio. flying, and the Thunderbird was flown over the Indianapolis 500, and they caught the shadow on the ground. Okay, this is what I'm talking about. This isn't just coming back to life because some of the ice may have melted. This is taking place, and that's the whole video. This is taking place because we're having breaks in our timelines, and it's not going back to the normal fit, and things are creeping through. And all it takes is the creation of an energy vortex in this timeline to alter things. We've heard this, I forgot his name. They were coming back from I forgot what key it was, or K, in the Bahamas, and they were going back to I think Fort Lauderdale Airport, and they were supposed to go up to one end of the Bahamas and cut across to get to Florida or Miami, and it was taking them like an hour plane ride. For some reason they were going a certain direction, and they described there was 3 people in the plane. There was the pilot, the pilot's son, and a friend of the pilot's, and they were flying back. And they described this purple fog or haze, like tunnel, that they were going into. Well, they first tried to avoid it, and the pilot, went around it, tried to go around it like you do in bad storms. Somehow he got engulfed in it. While in the tunnel, they said it was like a purple fog. There was lightning bolts. People became weightless. And the next thing you know, he pulled out of it. He was trying to contact, the airport, and he got contacted. Do you see me on radar? Do you see me on radar? And it was Miami Airport said, yeah, we see you on radar. They just took off like no more than 15, 20 minutes ago. There's no way it could have happened, but these portals exist. And that's what I'm saying. There's energy vortexes. You get an explosion from TNT. Now you have a Mothman coming in there. A lot of times when you have certain paranormal activities, it's from another event that had a lot of energy behind it. Lightning strikes. It's just, this is just a theory of mine, but
yeah,
I can tell you also, we've had certain instances where we're on investigation of a high strangeness area. We had a Bigfoot come in, it whoop, third whoop is down 2 miles down the other end of a lake. And the only way that Bigfoot can go from point A, where we are, to 2 miles down the lake in pitch black is if it opens a portal, steps in, and comes out where it wants. So everything I think about Bigfoot now has totally changed. It used to be flesh and blood for me. Gigantopithecus, missing link, blah, blah, blah. It changed after that experience. And they explain so much, because if you have a creature that can physically change its molecular structure, its shape, everything about it, its energy field, then what happens is when you convert energy, physical flesh and blood, into the process of creating, like almost like an active camouflage, like the Predator.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
People usually see with Bigfoot, I see orbs, or I've seen red UFOs or lights. That's because what you're seeing is this creature going from physical into the middle ground and then into interdimensional. That's why they disappear.
Is that kind of like the quantum theory, where you just take all this mass and you convert it to energy? Is that the same type of thing?
It's very similar to it. Ron Moorhead did a great job in his quantum Bigfoot.
Yep.
And before I even read the book or talked to Ron about that, and I was chatting with him, like, I just came across your book just now. I had this event. I was writing stuff down about it because I did study physics and I studied astronomy, and I was going to be I was thinking about being an astrophysicist, or as my partner in the paranormal used to, oh, you're an asshole physicist, which is always fun. But the only way, explains so much, because if you take mass, anytime you convert, it takes more energy to convert something into another form of energy. Do you understand? So if you're converting from a physical form of energy into a molecular form of energy, not only does it take more energy, why does your batteries get drawn? Why does the camera go, well, I just put fresh batteries in there? They're drawing your energy. They're drawing from the outside source. Even Tesla told you there's free wireless energy here. If we can harness it, we don't have to pay our utility bill. They won't let you do that.
Mhm.
Rob you from that. But in theory, you can draw energy from everywhere. And that's all they're doing is they're drawing it from the spot, and they'll go for the quickest ones first, which is those little crappy batteries. When they do the process, there's usually a spark or something to that effect. It gets to a certain point, it pops, and then it moves into that zone. And when it does it again, it kind of like has a spark or a light, and then it gets into interdimensional. In what's that show? Finding Bigfoot. There's a spot where you literally see the Bigfoot. See, this is why FLIR is one of the best things to have on an investigation. You see
Yes.
physical Bigfoot there at a distance. It definitely looks like more apish or like gorilla type of look. And then slowly it looks like it's walking away, and then it starts getting smaller and it breaks apart, and there's different spots, and then it comes into like 2-3 orbs, and you see it floating up, moving quickly. It's not because you're seeing it going, in the distance, getting smaller and smaller and smaller. That thing is converted its energy, and that's why you're now seeing orbs. And what happens when most people have a Bigfoot sighting? They talk about red orbs and they talk about yellow orbs coming in, sometimes blue. And they're like, I saw this orb. The next thing I know, I saw these glowing eyes. That's because this creature has the ability to convert itself. That's my theory. I say,
Okay.
I still believe this is the same thing with Dogman as well. They can do things because almost every Dogman story is, and then they were gone. How do
Yep.
you move 1,000, 1,500 pounds of anything in a second? You have to be able to either convert your energy or change your physical appearance or blend in to get out. And how do you do it without a sound? And people always say, like, well, yeah, I think you're crazy. That's too much woo. It's not woo. If you base the science, if you study, the conversion of energy and matter, it's everything I'm saying can be validated. The only thing I'm missing is a physical Bigfoot to do it. And if I had that, I'd be making a lot of money.
Right.
Seriously. I'd be making
Absolutely.
a lot of cash. I'm like, come on, see Bob. Go see him. And then you can say, hey, don't change into, invisible. And that's why
Right.
you have an active camouflage. So this is the big part about cryptids. Now, we talk about, and there's some people that are not going to believe me. They're going to be like, Bigfoot's flesh and blood, and I'm not on the whole, and I apologize to you, and no disrespect to your belief system. I'm a God-fearing man too, an ordained minister, but I do not believe Bigfoot or aliens or these dogmen are Nephilim or demons. I just don't.
Yeah, I concur. I have an idea about Brandy. I won't speak for her. I think that the thing that I always has me going in various directions. First of all, I do not subscribe to the apers theory when it comes to Bigfoot. I do believe that there's a flesh and blood entity, but I also believe, Brian, just from my own personal experience, I think there's something else, right? I'm not saying they
Right.
come from another dimension. Perhaps they do. It's so intricate because I believe that they have come from different dimensions. I believe from different portals, okay? But I also believe they've probably been here as a flesh and blood creature for many, many centuries, right?
Right. Well, I mean, like I got introduced to a gentleman out of Canada. His name is Jim. I don't know Jim's last name. And I saw actually a good friend of mine. We were watching this video, and I saw his videos, and he was hitting on stuff. Sounds a little bit like like old Grady Johnson, who's been nipping at the bottle. He went crazy. But if you listen to his stuff, you're like, oh my God, he's hitting on so many things and no one else is talking about. And sometimes I don't talk about certain things because, like an investigator, if you give out too much information, then you can fake it. It's 100% fakeable. I mean, I've gone into UFO meetings and I made up, just because I was bored because people are trying to be things that they weren't. And you make up these stories and you get them hook, line, and sinker in a second. Okay. Because I know enough about an abduction experience, what to expect. And I can just start hitting right all the buttons, whatever, get it done. But he was hitting on things that not many, if anybody, has known about. And he was pretty right. And we were talking about Bigfoot. And it is his belief system that these Bigfoot and these Dogmen and some of the other cryptids are from other planets. They're extraterrestrial based. Now, I don't necessarily believe that personally, but I do know that there are certain races of extraterrestrials. First of all, they've been here for millions of years prior to we being here. But there are races of extraterrestrials. There's a race that looks exactly like Patty, but they'd be wearing. They're not going to just be there naked, which would be just the fursuit. They do have certain things that they do wear. There's a race that looks like the Wookiee, Chewbacca, 100%. Both big as Chewbacca, 7-8 feet tall, as well as smaller versions of that, which is like an Albawitch or like an Ewok. They do have races of this. I know if we've had discussions about it. I have had people that have had experiences with it, and they're like, this thing came down in a craft and this thing walked out, and they're not crazy. I know that they're experiencing certain things. They have proof. They have chips in their body that are registering with RFID encounters, and it's just either they like to inject things into their system, but there's no markings to prove how it got there. So that does exist. There may be extraterrestrial based beings here that mimic this stuff, but in general, I didn't want to necessarily believe interdimensional, but that's the only way to quantify what I witnessed. I'm not giving you hearsay. I'm not saying, Fred Flintstone, he said that, he was driving down the car and this thing, a unicorn jumped over the car. I'm not giving you that. I'm giving you from my own personal experience and assessment from my knowledge. I'd love to be right. I can't tell you because all the stuff with Bigfoot and Dogman and ghosts, and it's all hypothesis, but it does fit if you really want to look at it. And so it gives you a baseline to actually, who is it? Mr. SOR always says, you're not scientists. Everybody's bringing up science, but you're not doing any science. Well, science is going out there and looking at different things, asking different questions, and repeating them until you can get a repeatable answer, right?
Yeah.
So I think maybe there are things to employ. If you take this information out there, what is it going to hurt? We've been doing the same thing over and over again. Everybody has these, and no one catches good video. Everybody. I can catch print all I want. And if you do catch good video, it's by fluke. And you're both, not only are you surprised, but the reason why I think these creatures know what this is and what a phone is and what a camera is, and they don't want to be caught on film. Right. They know how negative we can be as people. Okay. I mean, we're not the nicest people on the planet. We can be very nice.
And of course, as people, if you caught that great video by pure luck, everyone's going to call you a hoaxer anyway.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That's CGI. Okay.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm not here to sell you anything. I have a book out. It's I'm working on a couple of books that are paranormal based or that type of stuff. One with Ron Murphy, the crypto guru. Mm-hmm. Would I like to sell it? Sure. Would I like people to read it? No problem. Do I care if you buy it?
Right.
I'm doing it for me.
Yeah.
That's it. And if you think I'm trying to sell you on something, I'm not. I don't want any. I'm not here to sell you. So people just, I don't know if people are confrontational now more so than ever.
They seem to be.
Well, you get behind a keyboard, right? Like, I know a bunch of people that are actually in your chat. I don't know them personally. We're not going out. No one saved my life in Vietnam in a rice paddy. I'm just saying that I know these people and they're good people, right?
Yeah.
But there's some people, they come in and the stuff that they say, everybody's a keyboard warrior, but they would never say it to your face.
Of course.
No.
Of
Right.
course.
But I'm not here to defend it. And I always say something, please do your research. I've given you certain things. Research it. Go out and research it before you call BS, or as my partner, I'm calling, whatever, I'm calling bullshit. Before
Al.
Al, the big Wagoo, Santa Rica. Before you call BS, do some research.
Oh, for sure.
And for the love of God, if you use like one of those, well, according to Snopes, I'm going to hit you in the head with a pipe. Because that website was controlled by a husband and wife team until the husband decided things to have an affair. They're supported by political people on one end of the spectrum. It's not a valid source. Wikipedia is not a valid source.
Right.
You really want some information, go read a couple of books that already came out years ago. Go read Rob's book and you'll hear these stories. And then you could really kind of make an assessment what's going on there. But don't call somebody, lying to you until you've done some of the work. When we had this Bigfoot encounter at this lake with it, whooping at us and bluff charging us, and one of the guys that was getting bluff charged, running like he could have killed himself. It was, as I say, 100% a depends moment. Okay. And we're talking about the depends you wear. Not it depends if it runs at you or not. Yeah. It was a pucker up depends moment. And even for a seasoned person that goes out there, it's the same thing. You come in and you tell them what happened to you, and there's always that one guy. I would have ran right at it. No, dude, you would have been crying in the corner like a little girl. And that's a fact. And
it's a fact. I just did my show yesterday or Tuesday with Sibylla about my Bigfoot, and we brought it to life. She did the rendition.
Yeah.
I don't know if you get a chance. Go check it out when you have an opportunity, and you can see because she drew it for me. I mean, 90% accurate, 95% accurate. If I was on a boat 90 feet away, and if I was on land in front of this thing, I would have had a depends moment, because what I saw, and then she brought it to life Tuesday night. It's just something that should not exist. What I saw. Can't process that.
Yep.
But when you see it with your own two eyes, right? It makes the biggest difference in the world. Today, Brian, I don't have to convince anybody of any cryptid or any of these phenomena, because I've seen it. And I could care less what your thought is on that.
And
not you.
When you're having an experience like this, right? And you're having an experience and you're an investigator, everybody's like, well, where's your camera? You're the investigator. It's like, it doesn't work like that.
No, it don't.
No.
It doesn't work like that at all, because you're just as you need that moment to kind of like, okay, get into the zone. You're not expecting it. 99% of the time. I mean, some people, they have cameras 24/7 wherever they go. Like, why are you videotaping yourself?
And you brought up something earlier about people just want to be controversial no matter what, because this woman, this is about a year ago, sent me this long email and heard my story. Wherever I told it, I don't know where it was. I told, how come you didn't get a picture? And I'm like, okay, well, here's the number one thing. I'm on a boat 90 feet away. I had my camera on me. Then I see this creature that's not supposed to exist. Then it turned into a demon. Then my girl falls into the water off the boat. I tried to get her. Yeah, I had time. I thought before I rescued her, before I took my eyes off of this creature, my first thought was to take a video or take a picture.
I'm drowning. Hold on one second. I'm getting in frame.
Hang on, baby. I'll get you in a minute. I know you know how to swim. Give me a minute.
Yep.
Come on.
I'll give you a classic example because I guess we're close to,
Yeah.
time to go bye-bye.
Yeah.
So I go out on Sunday night with my youngest because I wanted to pick up some things for Monday for like breakfast, whatever. And she wants to go get some stuff for school.
Yeah.
We're supposed to eat healthy, but she's going like, give me the potato chips and then give me this. I'm like, okay, mom's going to kill me.
Yeah.
And we come out of this. I'm in Florida and we're near Route 441 in southeastern Florida. And it's about 7:00 at night. I'm not expecting this. I come out, very few people on the road. I get to the light. And as I'm waiting at this red light, I see over to my right, about 30 to 40 degrees up in the air, these red orbs. Okay. And they're like, it looks like a leader and then two on the but tail of it, like a triangle, if it was a triangle point, right? And I'm looking at this thing and I'm like, okay, this is pretty interesting. What the heck is this? What's going on here? And it is literally craft. I don't know why everything on my computer has to shut down when it has to shut down. But there are it's like I thought initially the way it was moving very fluidly and it was traveling north. I'm like, oh, this has to be a drone, right? Because drones have a certain light. And
Yep.
when they're closer to the ground, because drones only go so high, you can still see the LEDs look pretty bright and they're big. This was bigger than those LEDs, but I thought drone until I came to a part where the one of the lights elongated in red and then split off and then started forming it and started moving by itself. And I'm like fumbling around in my pocket for a freaking. And my daughter's like, what's wrong, Dad? And I'm like, I just videotape out the window. And that's where I was. Like, please videotape out the window. And she started to, look at it and like, what the heck's going on here? And I literally recorded it and I'm going to share it with you if I can get it on this freaking screen. It's a 3-minute video. So let's hopefully it pops up. There we go. I'm sharing with you now. And when it pops up, now listen, I'm using an Apple iPhone. I'm not prepared. If I had a Psionics or I had my, my Sony, A6, it would have been a lot better video. Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, we'll pull it up and check it out.
Yep. So I'm gonna play it, and I did the best I could with this, but they're the objects, and they're white in this, but they were bright red. And one of those objects broke apart, and you can see it. Another one may do the same thing, but
Oh, wow.
yeah, okay. The bluish one is actually an artifact on the right-hand side of the screen that Apple gives you.
Okay.
And this is flying upwards. So I'm now holding my camera out my sunroof. Okay. And at this point, 3 of them moved ahead and they're behind me to the left. Yeah. So, and
I just seen a blue one just blast across the screen there.
no, that blue, actually, you're seeing that little wiggle right there. That blue is actually an artifact from the Apple iPhone.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
It's the white dots in this thing. I'm driving now. This is where it gets. So we start driving. It's going to get a little bit noisy, so I'm going to slow it down a bit, like that. I'm videotaping as I'm driving through the sunroof, and I'm looking for a place to pull over. Yeah, I'm telling my daughter to videotape. She's like, "What?" And she's watching this. And eventually I'm pulling over. It's not that much longer of a video. It took place at about 11 p.m. And this thing was as fast as it happened, is as fast as it stopped. And this was a fleet. This was 3, then 2, then 1 broke off, then it was 4. And then coming up in the rear is what we saw as we're coming out the moon roof. I really wish, and we can stop that. We're good. We're not going to see anything more, but I really wish I had better equipment with me. There's been numerous times when I'm like, I wish I had, my psionics or whatever. Actually, the last time I said I wish I had my psionics, which is the night scope, which worked great, by the way. If you can't afford first, second, third generation night vision,
And
psionics make a great one.
And again, and you're no different than anybody, than myself, Brandy, people in chat, people listening later. And just not too long ago, I was telling Brandy, and I mentioned this on a show. There's a big creek by my house. It runs for miles. It empties into the Detroit River, and it's got woods on either side of it. And I typically every morning, especially before a show, I get up and walk and just kind of think about the show, collect my thoughts. But it's very creepy creek area. And I'm at this overpass in this bridge. Of course, I don't have a camera on me. Of course, I didn't bring my cell phone. And you're talking about the pterodactyl earlier, right? I happen to be stopping at the top of this bridge and looking down into the creek. It's about 8-10 feet wide where I'm looking. Okay. There's fish. And this part of the creek, there's like sucker and carp, just the nasty fish. Just that's where they go. And they go into the river. And I'm looking and I see this thing gliding. Uh-oh.
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry
Okay.
about that.
That's okay. So I see this bird gliding, and it's earlier in the morning, right? And I look, and this was no bird. This was brownish, a deep brown, and I can look, and it had wings, and it's gliding, not flapping. It literally almost encompassed the width of the entire creek. In this creek,
Wow.
it was 8 to 9 feet. Now, again, no, the wings were not touching either side, but it pretty much took up 75%. And it's gliding. And I noticed long legs were dropped down, which appeared to be like claws or talons. And it was looking to grab the carp coming down the creek. For whatever the reason, didn't grab one, didn't like it. But it was this vulture. I don't know what. I don't want to say prehistoric bird. And that one flap of the wing, and I tell you, that one flap motored it, boom, and it was gone in an instant. The first thing I thought was maybe a turkey vulture, which are not here where I live. And to this day, I've been trying to put my finger on what was this I saw. Now, of course, a guy who 99% of the time when I go for a walk will take my phone on me in case I slip and fall and, need some 911 help.
Yep.
But I didn't have it. And even if I had it, Brian, by the time I'd have fumbled in my pocket to get it, I would have lost focus, looked for my phone, and I would have lost it. I'm not like that. I don't have to get that picture. I want to keep my eyes on it because the minute I turn my head is when
Exactly.
it's gone.
Exactly the point. I'm sitting there. I'm looking at this thing now. If it was nobody behind me, I would have just stopped the car, put the hazards on, went up to the front. But the minute, for some reason, people down here, they just get pissed off. What are you doing there? And I'm like, there's a UFO, What
Let's
you
see it.
UFO, whatever. I mean, it was that intense.
Yeah.
Part of that was like, I was so occupied with it. I'm fumbling around and I'm like, it was this was one of the better sightings I've had. It was really, really good. What was interesting is they're moving and they're moving fairly quick for what it is. Nothing from, nothing was launched around here because I live near the Space Coast. So it wasn't any of that. It wasn't a helicopter. It wasn't drone. There was no sounds. As quick as I saw it, as soon as it got past my car, disappeared. And it was my youngest who goes, I go, where did it go? Cursing a little bit. She knows it, like, where the F was it? She goes, maybe it went through one of those windows. And she meant portals.
Yep.
And it was pretty, but I mean, that's what happens. There's plenty of videos now online. You're seeing craft come through portals. So there's a lot of weird stuff taking place today.
There's just so much weird stuff taking place. And I think it's more prevalent today than a decade ago, in my opinion. And you kind of brought that up anyways today. I'm just fumbling about something here. But Okay, good. I got you sent me your link tree. Brian, we're
Yeah.
coming up at the end of it. And always with you, the topic was what it was, and we kind of hit it a little bit. But again, that's why I love having you on. You're the only guy, you're the only guest that I get that goes 2 hours and could probably go 2 more. Where can people find you? I do have your link tree. I'll put that as well.
I just
I'll
have a link
post
tree.
that.
Yeah, some social media. I'll be on there. I'm trying to put together some books. I do a show on Thursday. It's a little bit more. I do the weird stuff, the paranormal based stuff on Awaken Nation every other Thursday. I have my own political things, but I don't want to go political. I'm trying to keep it into certain areas, which is paranormal based, but sometimes it does get into the political side. So you kind of straddle that. But you can see me every Wednesday, 8:00 Eastern on the Three Beards podcast. And then old Ron Murphy and I are looking into doing a couple of Inside the Goblin universes because he's been getting in requests finally. And my old
Ron,
partner,
I always have Ron. He's a great guy. I gotta get
Ron's
him on.
great. Ron's he's like the Rain Man of like paranormal. Definitely got to be a cryptid. Definitely. Okay, Ray, man. Ray. Yeah, let's go, Ray.
Yeah,
Teamwork
you know.
sucks.
He's a great guy too. We've talked some weird stuff
Yeah.
off behind the scenes too.
He's a fun guy. I mean,
He is.
I always joke around like you can find Ron on his OnlyFans page, but that's yeah, I'm everywhere. And if I listen, I don't shy away from questions. If you say, hey, about that, this or
yeah, well, no, that's how it should be.
You want to call BS for whatever reason, I'll talk to you still. Just
Yeah,
let's say
absolutely.
I saw you on, the front porch, or I saw you with, Brandy, or I saw you with Ted, or Rob, or whoever, or Barrett,
I gotta tell you one thing, and we gotta get going. I want to thank first TF Seek for the super sticker. Thanks to know for the super stickers. Well, thanks for everybody for coming on in. Your support's always appreciated. Look up Penny Van. Give her some love. She's going through a rough time. And I got the link, her emails in the chat somewhere in there. But I gotta say this really quick, and I can let you go because I was kind of pissed because it was on Facebook. Because every once in a while I'll post these shows on a couple Facebook channels, and this guy says, "How can that guy call him sir? He wasn't born in England." I looked him up. I'm like, you know what, dude?
I'll tell you.
Well, you've told me, but if you'd like to, go ahead.
So I am a real life Knights Templar, and my title is Sir Knight Bryan M. Bowden, and that's not a joke. So I put Sir there.
There you go. That's the explanation.
I don't have a sword or anything that I'm aware of.
Well, this guy.
Maybe we need to make you one. We'll make it out of like aluminum foil.
You don't hoist the shield or have the white horse.
No, I try to subscribe to what they were the real Knights Templars were doing back in the day, and it's basically like keeping true, keeping faithful, doing the right thing.
Yeah,
right.
That's what it is. Some people do it as an allegory, but I just do it as being who I am. That's why I'm Sir.
That's right. And Brian, I'm sure we'll talk again. I do want to wish you a Merry Christmas. I don't go Happy Holidays. I go Christmas. Merry Christmas.
Happy Three Kings Day.
All that,
whatever. I think it's Hanukkah for some people.
Hanukkah.
Kwanzaa. I don't even know any other holidays. Festivus for the rest of us.
Festivus for the rest of us, right? Randy, thank you
once
again.
Happy Lalaglinga, whatever.
Brandy, before we let you all go, Brandy, do you know what you and Krista got going on tonight?
Yeah.
I was just looking for that, and I don't have it listed.
Whatever. Well, I'm sure it'll be fantastic, anyways. The Blondes and Blues tonight,
I was looking
everybody.
for it. I was like, "What happened to it? I don't know what happened."
Okay. Well, the Blondes
I've got your show on here.
Central. My show, yeah. Well, thanks for that. 8 Central, 9 in the East. The Blondes and Booze. Go see Brandy and Kristen tonight. They always have a great show. This was a great show, as always.
Yes.
I love having you on, man. And
Well, thank you very much for having me
I
on. It's
got
great
to,
see
I
you, both of you.
got, thank you so much. And I do thank you for mentioning about, the bandana thing. That's something
Yeah.
we definitely have to get in touch with because I am interested for sure. So
Author plates. People want your
yeah,
your
all
John
that.
Hancock, your
Yeah,
BMR.
they do, and I'm
That's
so
right.
surprised how many people ask me that. It's
I
like, wow, I'm like taken aback. Like, really? Okay.
I like to get them, no matter if I know the person personally or not. I like an autographed copy.
Yep.
So it's just a little bit,
It's more personal. I get it.
yeah.
Especially if they know you, it's even more personal because I think I said whatever I said to you, lose some weight
It's
or whatever. I don't know.
not no.
Oh,
Not about
Krista has just told
Right.
me. Krista
Yeah.
has just told me. Anna from Jones Said Farms is going
There
to
you
be
go.
on tonight.
Oh, that's
Uh,
cool.
she's politely giving it to me. I'm like, I don't have it.
Well, thanks for lurking, Krista. She's
Yep.
definitely
Yeah,
lurking.
yeah, and it's on near death experiences. So
Ooh,
yeah.
nice one.
So I mean, I think the autograph is a little bit more personal for the person, and it means something. I was able to, through my father, I met Joe Rosenthal and Nick Utt. These are two photographers. Rosenthal took the picture of the Marines with the flag over Iwo Jima. I have an
Okay.
autographed copy of that.
Oh, well, that's
And
sweet.
Nick Utt took the girl running after napalm in Vietnam, and I have an autographed copy of that photo because I actually met these people.
Okay, great. No,
It's not just selling it; it's just the history of it.
no,
It's
that's
just,
no. I love that. I love that.
yep.
I love this show. Love you. Love Brandy. Everybody in chat. Love you guys all as well. And until next time, for Brandy, for Sir Brian, BMR, we are out.